Ivy.
You need to stop.
What, my work?
No, you need to stop talking to Electra. Leave her alone, Will. Let her move on with her life. Let her move on with RJ.
Welcome, my dear listeners. Stay with me to get the spoilers first and subscribe to the channel. Let's find out what's going to happen on The Bold and the Beautiful. The Bold and the Beautiful spoilers after Ivy's dirty secret comes out. Brooke slaps her. Most of the time, the Forrester mansion was a place where Beauty tried to hide the chaos that was going on underneath. But this afternoon, the air felt tense as if the shiny windows, marble floors, and perfectly arranged flower all knew something big was about to happen. Brooke Logan stood in the middle of the room, starting at Ivy Forrester with a look that could freeze a fire. Brooke held a folder of printed emails, photos, and screenshots that had just destroyed Ivy's carefully built world. For a short, breathless moment, no one moved, nobody said anything. Even the sound of heels clicking across the mansion, which is normal, seemed to fade away. Brooke then said the words that changed everything. "I know what you did, Ivy." Ivy's face lost all its color. She tried to stay still, but her fingers were tightly wrapped around the strap of her purse. "I don't understand what you are saying." Brooke laughed a little, but it was bitter. "Don't do that. Not right now, not after all that I have just seen." Hope stood nearby, looking back and forth between them in fear and confusion. Reese had to leave earlier, so there were only a few people who saw that was becoming a very personal war. Donna had gotten there just before Brooke, and even she was too shocked to say anything. The room felt like it was frozen in time, and everyone was staring at Ivy while Brooke picked up the evidence. "These messages," Brooke said, her voice shaking with rage. "The meetings, the falsehoods, the arrangement, you used everyone around you to hide what you were doing. You acted like you were innocent while you spread the rumor that almost ruined a family." Ivy's mouth opened and then closed. She looked like someone who was trying to figure out the quickest way to get out of a trap that had already closed. "I didn't." "Stop it," Brooke yelled. "I have heard too many women come into this family with a smile and a plan of what they want to do. I don't want to be lied to anymore." At that point, the door behind them opened. A lawyer from a previous business meeting, who had been quickly looking over papers for Forrester earlier in that day, had accidentally found the chain of emails that revealed Ivy's plan. He thought the papers were about business, so he left them with Brooke. But they had nothing to do with business. They said that Ivy had been giving information to a tabloid source, including private information about family problems, romantic relationships, and a secret meeting between two Forrester rivals. She had done it under the guise of protecting the company, but she was really hoping that the fallout would give her a way to get back into power. It wasn't just talk, it was a betrayal, and Brooke had read every word. Ivy took a deep breath. "I was trying to help." Brooke's eyes got smaller. "By betraying people? I was trying to get the truth out before it was buried," Ivy said, her fear turning into angry defense. "You and your family always act like you know the truth, like you are the only one who can make decisions about what matters." Hope came forward. "Ivy, that doesn't explain the emails," Ivy said, her voice breaking. "I didn't think they would find me. I never wanted it to get this far." Brooke looked at her in shock at how cold those words were. "So you admit it?" No sound. That one silence was louder than any confession. For weeks, Ivy had been playing both sides. She had smiled in the design room, acted like she wanted to keep the peace in the family, and gave helpful advice while secretly starting a chain of events that would lead to distraction. She had given sensitive information to someone outside of her circle, hoping it would make the people who had always ignored her weaker. She wanted power. She wanted people to pay attention to her. She wanted to be in charge. And now that the truth was out, Ivy had nowhere to go in the mansion. Brooke's breathing became sharp and uneven. The shock as she held the papers, not because she was scared of Ivy, but because she was trying to fight the urge to do what her body wanted her to do. Brooke said, "You knew what this could do. You knew how much it would hurt." Ivy raised her chin in an attempt to get back some of her pride. "You don't know what it's like to be treated like an outsider. To be bought in only when it's easy and pushed away as soon as it becomes hard." Brooke moved forward one step. "That doesn't give you the right to lie." Ivy's eyes lit up. "And what about all the lies this family tells itself?" That was the last push. No one could stop Brooke's hand from moving. The slap sounded like a thunder in the room. Ivy staggered to the side, shocked, and slowly raised one hand to her cheek. The sound alone made Hope grasp. Donna stopped moving and the air in the room felt electric. Brooke had hit her. Not because Brooke was mean, not because Brooke wanted to make her look bad, but she had finally reached the point where she couldn't take any more betrayal before she did something about it. For a long second, even Brooke looked shocked by what she had done. Then the rage came back. "You cannot act like a victim after what you have done," Brooke said, her voice full of righteous anger. "You cannot come into my house and act like you're some misunderstood martyr. Ivy, you let this family down. You told me a lie. You put the lives of people I care about in danger." Ivy's eyes filled up, but not with tears of regret, with anger. "You had no right to hit me." Brooke laughed with a lot of anger. "And you had no right to hurt people while smiling." That was when the emotional breakdown started. Ivy turned away, and you could see she was shaking. The room around her becomes fuzzy with anger and shame. She put her fingers on her cheek and held them there, as if the sting would go away if she stayed still long enough. But the pain was more than just physical. It was the end of her control, the end of all the lies she had told herself. At that point, she was no longer the confident, well-groomed woman who had walked into the mansion hoping to outsmart everyone. She was shown completely, and the exposed hurt. Donna tried to step in. "That's enough, Brooke." "No," Brooke said, still looking at Ivy. "It's not enough until she hears everything." Hope looked very upset. She had always wanted peace and tried to see the best in everyone, but she couldn't defend what Ivy had done. The messages were easy to understand. It was clear what the timeline was. Ivy had taken private conversation, changed them, and given them to someone outside the family of her own secret reasons. Hope said quietly, "Ivy, is it true? Did you really do all of this?" Ivy looked at her, her eyes flashing with hurt pride. "I was trying to keep myself safe," Hope said. "That's not an answer." Ivy took a shaky breath. "Okay, yes, I sent the details." Donna closed her eyes for a moment as if the confession made the room seem smaller. Brooke's voice got low and sharp. "Why?" Ivy paused, and that pause said more than any words could. She was jealous. She had been angry. She felt ignored and unimportant, especially when the Forrester family only made room for her when they needed help with a project or a temporary ally. She thought that if she controlled the story, she could make people respect her. She could make a space for herself. People would listen to her. Instead, she had blown up the trust she needed. Finally, Ivy said, "I wanted them to take me seriously. I wanted to be important." For half a second, Brooke's face softened, not because she forgave her, but because she understood how lonely it was to say what she did. Brooke knew what it was like to fight for a spot in the family that could be loving one minute and mean the next. She knew what it was like to be judged, turned down, and not believed in, but she also knew how to tell the difference between pain and manipulation. Brooke said, "You should have used your voice, not lies." Ivy's eyes shone. And you think I didn't try? You think I didn't get shut down every time I said something? Brooke pointed to the papers she was holding. This isn't speaking up, this is sabotage. The room was quiet again. Then there were footsteps. Rich walked in with a serious look on his face and immediately felt the tension. He looked from Brooke's angry face to Ivy's shocked face and then to the mess of evidence on the table. He asked, "What happened?" No one spoke up right away. Brooke did. Brooke said coldly, "She showed herself and I just made sure she knew that I knew who she was." Reese looked unhappy. "Brooke." "No," Brooke said, "you need to see this." She gave him the folder. Reese's jaw tightened as he read the pages. The realization made his face hurt. There was no mistake about this. This was planned. Ivy had gone too far and couldn't go back. Reese slowly looked up and his face showed how disappointed he was. "Please tell me this isn't real, Ivy." Ivy's voice was almost a whisper. "I wish I could." Reese took a long, deep breath. "You let us down." Ivy flinched as if he had hit her too. "Brooke slapped me, and that was one thing." It was different to hear Reese Forrester's disappointment. His judgment hit harder than the sting on her face. "I didn't want anyone to get hurt," Ivy said. "But they did," Reese said. "That's the issue." The next few minutes were full of feelings. Hope wanted to know, Donna wanted peace, Reese wanted the truth to come out, Brooke wanted to be held accountable, Ivy wanted mercy that she hadn't earned. And though it all, the main truth stayed the same. Ivy had gone too far. Brooke's last piece of puzzle was the last straw. Had Ivy done more than just leak information? She had also tried to make herself look like the concerned insider so she could get into private meetings and make important decisions, and had built trust and then used it as a weapon. She had made it sound like she was on her side while using her every chance to move the pieces into place. This wasn't a mistake in judgment. It was planned. Brooke was so angry that she made sure no one forgot it. "You used our lives like a ladder," she said. "You climbed on lies and now you are shocked that the fall hurts?" Ivy looked at her and finally tears came. "You think you are better than me?" Brooke's eyes lit up. "No, I think I am done letting you hurt people and call it ambition." That answer put an end to the fight. The fight did not end in peace. It ended in silence, broken pride, and the terrible realization that every relationship in the room had changed. The trust was gone, the partnership fell apart, and Ivy's future with the family was now very uncertain. Reese told her to go. Ivy looked at him like he was speaking a different language. "You cannot mean that." Reese said, "I do. Go home." But Ivy no longer found comfort in the word "in home." It was where she would sit by herself and think about what she had done. It was where she would replay Brooke's slap over and over, not as a cruel act, but as a physical reminder of her failure. With shaking hands, she picked up her things. Brooke didn't stop her. There was nothing else to say. Ivy stopped at the door and looked back one last time. Her cheek was red, her eyes was full, and her pride was clearly hurt. But she wasn't just angry. It was fear. She had been humiliated in front of people she wanted to impress the most, and there was no graceful way to get out of that kind of shame. Brooke watched her leave, her chest rising and falling with the anger that was still there. The slap had come out of nowhere, been very strong and couldn't be taken back. But Brooke didn't feel bad about it. At that moment, she felt the weight of every lie, every trick, and every sneaky move that had threatened to take away what she loved. The truth didn't always come gently. Sometimes it felt like a sting on the face. The room was still heavy with the aftermath of the flight even after Ivy left. For a while, no one moved. It was the kind of quiet that comes after a storm. Hope finally spoke. "This will change everything." Brooke looked out toward the door with a serious look on her face. Good, it might need to. Ridge looked at her closely. Are you okay? Brooke let out a breath. I will be, but I am not sorry. That one sentence made the emotional heart of the moment clear. Brooke didn't hit Ivy just because she was mad. She had done it because Ivy's betrayal was personal, planned, and very damaging. It had gone from gossip to attack, from feeling insecure to manipulating others, and from hidden anger to open sabotage. There would be consequences, there always was. Ivy would probably fight back. She would definitely say that people didn't understand her, made her angry, or were unfair to her. She might even try to make Brooke look like the bad guy in the story. But the truth could no longer be hidden. The dirty secret had come out, and Ivy's careful planned defense fell apart with it. Now the question was not if the family would believe Brooke. The question was whether Ivy could handle the fallout from finally being seen for who she really was. And in the world like this, where love and betrayal are always close by, that kind of exposure could ruin everything. Brooke had made it clear to Ivy that